thought I'd start out this video running my trains. This is a Lionel 2055. It's, I guess, one of my favorites. The consist is original, other than there's the ice car and this sound car here. The green one is added in. But anyways, this is my layout. I've had this layout for, I'd say, about 45 years. And I'm finally calling it done. And I'm going to expand it, actually, and triple it soon. So I thought I'd make a video of it. I'm 50 years old, and I've been in the hobby since I was 3. And my dad actually built this layout originally. Well, the board anyway. And obviously I did the rest. So, yeah. Let me start out how I got into the hobby. These are the 8 engines that I grew up with. Arguably 7, because this 2037 right here, that engine was missing. I had most of the consist, but I did not have the engine. I will go into that later. These two on the end, these 2 Marks trains, were the very first 2 trains I had. The Marks 999 and the Marks 490. The story of these, my neighbor had a couple of boys that were quite a bit older than my brother and I, and they outgrew them. And so they gave these trains to us, and I believe I was 3 and my brother was 4. I am 50 now, so I have had these for quite a few years. My brother was not quite as dedicated to the hobby, so needless to say, I ended up with them. I'll start out with this Marks 999. Obviously, a renowned engine. I mean, I can't say enough good things about them. They go up and down the track real nice. You know, that short wheelbase, they just tend to stay on the track good. They, you know, good for kids to have, because they just don't derail as often. And they got the tin lineup, you know, and this one's forward reverse, got a headlight. Yeah, I played with it so much that this gear on the side, this bigger gear, I stripped that out. When I was about in my 20s, I found the guy that worked on trains, and he fixed it up for me. Then I had this 490 here, and I believe of the 2, if I remember right, this one was my favorite of the 2. I don't know why. Maybe because it had the red, white, and blue cars. Maybe because it spun more going up and down the track. I don't remember, but you know, it's a fun train. And this 490, it's got the white stripe and the double gear reduction. So this one's got forward and reverse. It does not have a headlight, but I played with that train so much. Here's the original motor, and if you look at the contact in the bottom, I've actually worn a hole through it. I realized I could have had this one fixed up and put in the engine, but I found another engine that was the same, so it's in there and it works fine, so that's the way I'll keep it. This 490, I got that one after these two wore out. My parents went out and actually bought a brand new one. And that's this third one in line here. This 490 only has forward, no headlight, no smoke. I mean, it's very, very basic. The cars are very, very bottom dollar. I mean, this was, I believe, like 1975, and Marx was basically on their last leg. And you can see the trucks are plastic with the four wheels in the bottom. But it didn't stop me. I enjoyed that train a lot. Matter of fact, I used it so much that I wore out that same big gear on the side. I wore that one out. Of course, this one's been fixed up too. But, yeah. And I can remember my parents were worried about me wearing out that train, which I did anyway. They actually, these first two trains, they took away from me because the cars were heavier. And they were worried that, you know, I would wear out the train faster. And, I don't know. To me, I guess, you know, as long as you're having fun, you know, and I had the cars, I probably would have just let myself play with them, but, oh well. But, yeah, so when these first three were my only three that I had at the time, and I wore all three of them out, and I can remember, for a while there, even with the engines burn up, I was pushing them around the track. I loved to play with toy trains so much. But then the train board went up, and but my dad was looking for some more, and my cousin had a connection. He knew of somebody that had these two right here. This was actually my first Lionel. This is a 1061. This one doesn't have a headlight. It just goes forward. Never had any problems with this one. It's always was actually a pretty fast engine. And I always had fun with it. Yeah, the consist is pretty basic. I was missing this tender growing up. I just replaced this more recently. I had the gondola, and I believe the caboose was busted up too, so I replaced that. And then there was the the Mark 666, and wow, when I got that, what a train, right? I mean, it forward and reverse headlight, smoke unit, and it looks nice, right? And when I was young, the smoke unit didn't work in it. It does now, but yeah, it has a nice consist with it. This particular car right here, I just had as a flat car, and it wasn't until the internet came out that I started researching things, and I figured out that I was missing some automobiles in the carrier piece to carry the automobiles. So I got on the internet and I bought those pieces. And this boxcar I've always had. I took some vinyl siding and made some doors for it. I was missing the doors. The caboose I've always had. But the interesting part about this particular train is because it was die cast metal, and it worked. My parents did not want me to play with that one. They kind of wanted me to preserve it, you know, and so I did not play with that one quite as much when I was a kid. My dad actually made a board to mount it on, and this was up in my the dining room that in the house I grew up in. My dad was very good with wood. This is not just a slab of wood. You know, he actually glued something together. Yeah, so I got a display. I do not keep it on there. For what little I run it anymore, it's good for it to keep going, you know. But yeah, I got the display. So I had those two. And then my neighbor was having a garage sale, and these next two Lionels I got. So one of them is the Scout 1110, and this is the Lionel 2037. I'll talk about this one first. A lot of people on the internet don't like this one. I've always enjoyed it. It does have the E-switch problem that is very common. I just put it in forward and put a black rubber band around it, and that's the way I always used it. I realized you can get an engine from a newer model, and you know, it works fine. I prefer to keep it original that way. These rods on the side, I have to say, Lionel in the 1950s, they had whatever they did, it's very common to see them rusted up. So, and my original ones were rusted up. So what I did was I bought rods from like an engine like this one, this 8040, and it's the same body style, and it fit right in there nicely, and it looks nice. So that's what I did with that. The original tender I had was bent up. I found that one on the internet. I had this gondola, but I didn't have the canisters, but I don't think the canisters actually go with the set anyway. I had this Baby Ruth boxcar, but there was something wrong underneath. I believe that it was bent up underneath or whatnot. So I had to straighten that. And my original caboose was, it was really a mess. So I had to replace that. So I don't know, it's the Lionel Scout, you know, it's a starter set, you know, bottom dollar set in the 1950s for Lionel. I don't have a whole, you know, lot of problems with them. I will say one thing that's kind of odd is they do have different couplers than the regular Lionel, and they're not compatible, and I find that odd. I really don't know why Lionel did that. I mean, it's supposed to be a starter set, but you get started and you buy something else, and guess what? It doesn't, you know, it's not interchangeable. But other than that, I mean, it's a fun set. Okay, on that deal, I had the 2037. The interesting part about this 2037 here is when, you know, like I said, these two came together, arguably, but he had both the trains in the box and some other pieces and whatnot. There was an ice station from the 1950s, but he held up the original 2037 that was in there, and he said, you can have everything, but you're not getting this engine. So he took the engine out, and I remember I was just in awe because this one has 6 drive wheels, and of course it's got magnet traction, you know, and headlights, and it smokes. But the main thing I noticed as a young kid is that I had 6 drive wheels. It was the first locomotive I'd ever even seen with 6 drive wheels. All my rest of mine just had the 4 drive wheels. And yeah, so I didn't have that. Um, I did not have the tender. I don't remember if he took that when he took the engine. I don't remember. Um, this car right here, I had just as a flat car. I did have this piece, but I had no idea where it went. I always assumed it was actually part of this car because it was black, and I did not have the automobile, so it almost looked like that belonged with that. But of course, when the internet came out and I'm looking things up, guess what? Figured out this was supposed to be glued on here, and I was missing some automobiles. Bought some automobiles. I had this car here. I did not have the canisters. I bought them later. I had this box car. Was a little bit bent up underneath again, but I had it and fixed it up. The caboose was completely in pieces. I had it, but it wasn't worth dealing with, so I just replaced it. But I had enough of the cars, with the internet, and I didn't have books to look stuff up, but with the internet, I could figure out that this tender and engine I was missing was a 2037. Like when he held that up and said I couldn't have it, I can't say that I recorded the engine number in my brain, but yeah, I was able to figure out that I'm supposed to have a 2037 with this consist, and I got on the internet and I bought this one with this tender, and finally completed my set. I actually did that more recently, so it's been quite a few years that I did not have that beautiful 2037. And what a wonderful engine. I mean, it is really, really something. It just it's got smoke and magnet traction and whatnot. I think back to the days when I was 4 and 5 and I had these. If I would have had something like this 2037 when I was just a young kid like that, I never would have left the basement. With the smoke unit and everything. Wow. I guess moving on. This 8040. Pretty nice little consist. I bought this from a kid that was about my age in the 6th grade, I believe it was. I've always enjoyed this set. It's got the E unit up here, forward, reverse. Always worked real well. I know Lionel, takes a lot of heat for not building very good trains in this era. I believe it's like late 70s. And yeah, it doesn't compare to some of the stuff they built in the 50s, but you know what? It's always worked pretty good for me. It's got at least 40 years on it, so no complaints. This one has the rubber drive wheel. Quite frankly, I always felt like it was a pretty good puller for what it was, and if it would have had the die cast body on it instead of the plastic body, it could keep up with a lot of them comparable to it. So those are the 8 that I grew up with. Now I'm going to move on over here to these steamers over here. I enjoy the steamers. I like seeing the rod action on the sides. I do have some diesels I'll get to later. But I'll start out over here. These two are both 333s. Mark's 333s, that is. Yeah, I enjoy them. One is a smoker. This one's the smoker. This one's the non-smoker. I guess the interesting part about this smoker right here is I got that off eBay, and I got it pretty cheap. I don't remember the price, but I'm sure I got it that way because the seller did not have it listed as a Marks 3.3 smoker. If I remember right, he didn't even have Marks 3.3 in the description. He did have, I believe he just had Marks Train, but he did not have smoker in it. And I'm sure if he would have had it labeled correctly, it would have brought a lot more, and I probably wouldn't have ended up with it because those Marks 3.3 smokers are just, I mean, everybody wants them. This is the Cadillac of what Marks had, and they're a wonderful train. But moving on, I got this tin one at the pawn shop. Yeah, it's neat to look at, whatnot. I mean, it represents its era well, and it's just something for the collection. And moving on here, we got the 8625. This is actually a DC, and that's all it consists. I guess what I can say about that is it's these DC motors, man, they really run nice, real smooth engines. This one, actually, I got this from a gentleman. I got this other 8040 with it. It was him and his brother had them two right there, and he was moving and decided to sell them, so I got them really cheap. Okay, moving on. This Marks 1666. Fun set. The interesting part about this set is I like tenders that basically make noise, and I have to say Marks did a really good job with that tender. It really chugs nice. I'm impressed every time it goes around. And this one, of course, smokes and whatnot. And yeah, it's a good little set. This is another one that I got pretty cheap. The guy just didn't have it labeled right. I was actually just searching for the tender, and somehow, I came across the whole set. It was an eBay find, and I, of course, bought it right away. It was almost too good to be true. I think he just listed it too. I think it was a buy it now, and it was really cheap. So I clicked on and bought it. It did not have this car right here, which is actually part of the set, but strangely enough, I had that just as an extra. It was like it was meant to be. Like I had that car, but I was just missing the rest of the set. So it all worked out. Moving on, this 5413. This was actually my very first Hudson. I guess the interesting part about that one is it was an eBay find. It was this is about a 2000 model. The year now is 2020. I got it a couple years ago. It was new, unused, brand new in the box, and it actually belonged to the former CEO of Lionel. It was Richard Clune. It was in part of his collection, and the seller on eBay was selling it. And I know that they were telling the truth because the seller also had some expensive plaques and whatnot that Richard Clune had earned, and I just don't know of any way they would have came up with those and selling those at the same time. They had a bunch of stuff of his, if it wasn't true. I mean, I can't say he was personally ever ran this around his track or whatnot because it was brand new, but yeah, it's just part of the story with that one. And then I got this 8206 over here. Sound of Steam era. It's got the tender. Yeah, the Sound of Steam doesn't quite sound quite right. I'm working on getting that fixed, but it's a beautiful engine. I mean, even if you just run it with the Sound of Steam off, you can't complain. It's a lot like the 2055. It just has a different casting up front, but yeah, it's an enjoyable train to run. And then I got this 8632, pretty basic with the tender. The story behind this one: I toured Lionel when it was in Michigan. I live in Wisconsin, and my family and I was traveling to Washington, D.C. to look around and whatnot, and I talked him into swinging up into Michigan and touring the Lionel factory when it was there. And so we did the tour, and they got a little gift shop in the end, and this was actually one of those supposed to be one of those scratch dent models or whatnot. I never have found a scratch in it, but you know, the interesting part about this is I really wanted a Hudson. At that point, I still didn't own a Hudson, and I was gonna get a Hudson, you know. And that day, of all the days I showed up, they did not have a scratch and dent Hudson. So I bought this. It did not come with a box. That's part of the deal, or was part of the deal, you know. And of course, you got it at a reduced rate and whatnot. But I like it. It's actually was the first whistling tender I had that worked. So I have always had an old LW transformer with a whistle on it, and I finally put it to use after all them years. But I'll roll the camera over here. On my train board, I got a picture of my family and I. There's a little girl in there. She's actually 17 years old now, and there she looks like just a baby. But that's when we toured it, the factory. And I guess rolling back here, I actually bought this particular engine, this 8635. I bought it because it had a wonderful tender with it. That's one that's got crew talk and whatnot. So that's the reason I bought that one. I have this Marx train here. This one's pretty low budget. Not much to say about it. I'll talk more about it later when I talk about the diesels. It's more interesting that way. So moving on to the diesels over here. This is the diesels I have. This switcher right here, I bought a few years back. That was a Craigslist find. I think the guy, I got it real cheap. I think the guy just needed smokes. And, you know, once he got his money, he basically ran right out the door and, you know, headed to the convenience shop. I really think he just needed cigarettes and needed money. But, so, yeah, you know, it's in great shape, so I was happy to get it, you know, and, yeah, that's with that one. F units. Other than, steamers, I have to say my next love is F units. And, yeah, I got 4 of them here. This Texas special I got just a few days ago. I am missing the caboose. I'll pick it up shortly. But yeah, I was at a hobby shop, and it was basically on display on the top shelf. I really don't even think it was meant to be for sale, but I asked the guy about it, and he kind of hemmed and hawed, and finally gave me a price on it, and checked to see if it moved, and it did move. It needed cleaned up and oiled, but I got it home and it works fine. These ones are a little bit different. I actually, at first I thought it was missing the E unit. It's not missing the E unit. These just did not come with that. But Lionel left a hole there. This one here, this Union Pacific 202, of course it has the E unit on it. I got the whole consist. This one is got a little interesting story to it. This Union Pacific came out in 1957. I bought this from a gal. I'll say she was probably right around 70. She got it when she was just a little girl. Her and her husband they both had trains as kids. This one and that Mark's over here, that was his train. I'm gonna say he was probably about 75 or so, but that was his train growing up. So they had their childhood trains and kept them together all these years, and I guess they only used them like a couple Christmases, and they were moving, so they decided they needed to go. And I was fortunate enough to be the one to call on it. This is just in marvelous shape, and I really think part of the reason it's such in great shape is because she was a girl, and us boys like to push them to the limits and whatnot, but this train was taken care of. And the interesting part about this is, like I said, came out in 1957, and this is one of the years that Marx was introduced that Lionel girls train, the pink train with the pastel colors. And this is just proof right here, because her dad bought her this train in 1957 when she was a little girl. Like I said, and he did not opt to buy the girls train. He bought something a little bit more realistic. So I find that interesting. Then I got this Santa Fe here, F unit. I bought this at a train show. When I picked it up, the guy didn't think it worked real well, but I got home and it worked just fine. I just had to put a light in it, and yeah, so I like it. This one here, this I got brand new. I've got this more recently. This is the Santa Fe 159. Real nice, consists of cars. Yeah, it's got the Bluetooth, and I have it linked to my phone, and I am not computer literate, but man, that was really easy. This one, cost me a little bit more money. I want to say that I spent like $335 on it. Got it on the internet somewhere. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's a little bit hard to convince the wife, but I just got a bonus from work, so made it a little bit easier to justify it with her. But yeah, I can't say enough good things about it, and I know there's a lot of good stuff on the internet about it already. These are great engines, and the whole consist. They look nice going down the track. They light up nice. Wow, it's just amazing, and they sound beautiful. I have in the back of my property, I have a train track, and it's exempt, but there's still trains that go up and down it now and then. And what I've noticed, the way this one sounds at a low speed, you know, Lionel has a bunch of sounds in it and whatnot. It sounds so realistic. It really does. The horn and everything. This is just a wonderful train. I mean, a lot of guys are all about the old stuff, you know, and I like the old stuff too, but wow, this one is really nice. And, you know, I know it's cost me a little bit more, but it is a nice train. I guess moving on, I got some cars and whatnot. These came from Menards. I'm kind of a World War II buff, so these got the pretty girls on them. Someday I'll get a few more. But Menards does make a nice lineup of cars and buildings. I got some passenger cars and a few other Lionel cars here. I got the helicopter car here. I got some of my noisy tenders, of course, that I enjoy. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the most part. Moving back here to my layout, like I said before, this layout, my dad, you know, originally put the board together for me when I was just a little kid, and my dad is no longer with me, but it's time to expand, and I plan to do an L shape with it. Basically, I just want to go this way with it. Obviously, I gotta move some things around, but my daughter is helping me. We are actually building a mountain that's gonna go on there, and I have more buildings and stuff that I want to put on there, and I got some big ideas in my head. So that's why I'm shooting this video, because I'm going to tear this down shortly, or not tear it down. I'm actually going to expand upon it. I'm going to pretty much leave this the same, only just take this end board out and go from there. But yeah, I wanted to make this video before I do that. That way I got a record of what I had, and that way you can see what I started with, and hopefully I'll do another video and show you what I'm going to end up with. But yeah, this is it, you know. I'll just put the camera around on some of these, you know. I've had this Rico station since I was a little kid. I got one ice station here. This is a newer one. Works beautifully. This is an older one from the 1950s. This one does work. It's not as graceful as the newer one. Menards Piggly Wiggly. Fun building. Menards Grandma and Grandpa's house. You got the Shell station. Menards makes a nice barn. This is stuff that, you know, I get on birthdays and Christmas. You know, they're a little bit more expensive. There's a ranch house over here, and I guess I should get over here. They got a couple pretty girls cleaning the car off, you know. It's kind of fun to see that stuff. And yeah. So that's it for now, and thank you for watching my videos. Bye now.